Okay, hi guys. So, tomorrow, December 3rd, 2020, marks 10 years since I got deported. That marks 10 years in Mexico, 10 years that we've been waiting for. For those of you guys that don't know, I had a long immigration history with my parents when I was little. When I was a minor, we got deported from the US when I was 3, and then again when I was 14. And because of those deportations, when I got married to Rafa and when I tried to fix through him, those deportations came back. They showed up on my history and they denied everything. They gave me a lifetime ban. And they told me that after 10 years, that they were, I was deported already, but they told me that after 10 years, I could put in a pardon. And those 10 years will be tomorrow. So I've been waiting 10 years we've been waiting 10 years for this to happen, and just so much has happened, and it's been just such a long process, and we've been through a lot, and we just kind of wanted to share our story and just talk a little bit about our 10-year journey and everything that we've gone through. I remember when I first got deported, that whole thing was just crazy. We had actually started my process, so you have to apply. It's called an I-130, where Rafa, as my husband, petitions for me as his wife and to get papers. We started that first petition with a lawyer. Her name was Marlene Gonzalez. I think she's still practicing in Utah in Salt Lake. She straight up just stole our money. She took, what was it, like $5,000 from us? I don't know. It was a lot. It was a couple $1,000s that she took. She filed a petition and she never followed up. I had an interview scheduled that I didn't know about, so I didn't go to it. And because I didn't go, I got a deportation order for it. By then, we had already hired our second attorney. And that attorney, we tried to go through him and everything, but by then I had already had the deportation order, so from the first one. So they went to go look for me at the house. You remember that?
So that was pretty interesting. That day, I remember, it was in November. It was cold. It was night. It was like, I don't know, it was kind of snowing, like misty. It was weird. And I think we went to Smith's.
No, I went to Walmart.
Was it Walmart?
We had just bought in Sophie little earrings, and I only got to put one on.
Yeah, so we made it home, and there was 3 minivans. Just weird. I was like, 3 minivans? It was crazy. And then there was like a Suburban down the street. And it just seemed kind of odd because they were placed in areas that they're not supposed to be at, you know? So I go inside. If you guys don't know where we live, down the street from Cypress. My house was the one with all the pit bulls, white house. It was a crazy white house. Everybody knows it. So you pull in, I close the gates, and shortly after, my sister calls me because my sister lived next door to me. And my sister's like, "Hey, ICE is here looking for Gabby." I was like, "What?" So we rushed downstairs, and there was a hidden place that you can work on the basement.
It's
Piping
and
space. Yeah, all right. So we put Gabby in there, closed it up.
He shoved me in there.
Covered it up.
Yeah.
And then I go and I lock all the doors because I know if that, they have to have a warrant to get in, or they can get in by that. So we locked all the doors, windows, and everything. I run outside. My brother-in-law's on the ground in a wife beater, some shorts, and by that time it was already snowing. It was cold. They had a gun pointed to his head, and he's like swearing at him, like, "Don't tell him anything. Don't tell these beeps, don't want to swear. These effers, don't tell them anything." And I was just like in shock for a second, and I was like, "What?" And then my sister was starting to kind of trip. She's like, "Oh man," or I don't know if they had him on the ground by that time, but they did point a gun at him and everything. And so I was like, they're like, "Where's your girlfriend? Where's your girlfriend?" I was like, "My girlfriend?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then they said, "Gabby." And I was like, "What?" They started I was like, "Let me see your warrant. Let me see your warrant." So they showed me papers of her when she was like in elementary or something, but it was pictures of her when she was young, and it tripped me out. I was like, what the? How do they have that? But it had pictures of her when she was super young.
I have a long immigration history.
And so when they showed me that, I was like, look, she's my wife. I was like, she's by that time we were married. I was like, look, she's my wife, and we have an I-130, and we are we're just waiting for the immigration court to go through with it. The dude finally calms the people. They surrounded my sister's house and everything, and he's like, just give her up. We'll take her in. You'll have her by tomorrow at lunch. I was like, I ain't giving nobody up. I ain't saying anything, but she ain't here. And then the guy gets all upset. He's like, I could get a warrant for your house. Oh yeah, because the warrant said my sister's house or somebody else's house, but not my house.
I had the wrong address.
I had the wrong address. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, you ain't coming to my house. Nope. And finally, the dude calms down. He's like, hey, man, how about let me make a phone call. We'll try to get you guys in or whatever, this and that. And I was like, whatever. I was like, I ain't telling you where she's at today, so she ain't leaving today. They finally get together. All the vans leave besides two of them. Like, all the cars leave besides two. And they stay there, and then one dude stays outside, and he comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, how about we have a interview for tomorrow? Come in. He's like, we'll put ankle bracelet on her, and she'll be home by lunch, and you'll have dinner or whatever with her. And I was like, I don't know. We'll see. And so that was that. They took off, and I came in. We took her out and everything.
But the whole time though, while I was hiding in that crawl space, I remember specifically. So Rafa threw me up there. It was up high, and he threw me up there with a blanket.
We were in the basement. There. It was in the dirt, so she was like crawling in the dirt.
Yeah. So I'm hiding with like a blanket over me, and I'm right next to the room where Sophie was in. She was a year and 5 months old at the time, and I could hear her like laughing because they were trying to distract her. My brothers-in-law, they were trying to distract her and stuff, and I could hear her laughing, and I just remember like hearing that, and I was like, I'm hiding here like I'm some kind of criminal, like I killed somebody, like I hurt somebody, like I did something, and I didn't do anything. Like I do recognize that I was illegal, but it wasn't a choice that I made for myself. It was a choice that was made for me when I was 2 years old. I grew up I lived 8 years in Canada, and I lived 11 years in the U.S. So I never knew Mexico. I didn't grow up there. My Spanish wasn't the best. Like,
and whoever's watching this, whatever you do will affect your children.
Definitely.
Trust me. It took me a while to get over it. I wasn't too happy with her parents for a long time.
Yeah, it was something hard to deal with.
It was something that.
No, but so the whole time I could hear Sophie laughing, and I just remember in that moment, I just remember thinking to myself, like, you know what? This has been my entire life. We've always had immigration problems. We've always been getting deported. We try to do another process. We try to do it right. Something happens. We get deported again. And it's just always been a mess. And I just remember in that moment, I made the decision, and I was like, you know what? I am not a criminal. I am not making poor choices. Like, I'm going to do things the right way. And if that means I get deported, then that's fine. I'm going to do things the right way. I'm sick of living in fear, because you guys, being illegal is not easy. Imagine every time that you're at work and the boss says, hey, I need to speak to you. And you're just thinking in your mind, oh my God, he found out. He found out. How am I going to be able to pay the rent now? How are we going to put food on the table? How am I going to be able to afford this? Oh my goodness. When somebody comes knocking on your door, you're like, oh, everybody's silent. Turn off the TV. Be quiet. We don't know who's there. What if it's ICE? Like, you're living in a constant state of fear. And it was a constant state of fear that I had known my entire life. And I was just so done with it. And at that moment, I was like, I'm not a criminal. I didn't do anything. I didn't hurt anyone. Like, I am illegal. I understand that. But it wasn't a decision that I made for myself. And it's a decision that as soon as I became 18, that I've been trying to fix. And I decided I was done. So Rafa came back, and he was like, hey, this was his first time.
I wasn't that happy. She makes it sound like I was happy about it.
He wasn't happy, but he came back optimistic, and he was like, you know what? I talked to the guys. They offered a
so I
solution.
walked in. I told them it wasn't a solution. I walked in. I told her, I was like, look, the best thing they could do is we'll have what do you say? Cita.
An appointment.
An appointment for tomorrow. I think it was at
10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, something like that. It was
at
something
10 in
like
the
that.
morning.
So Gabby was already bummed out. She was kind of prepping us. She was telling me like, this you need to pay, this you need to pay. Like she was breaking everything down. Like we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that, and getting everything ready.
Yeah, I need you to take care of this. And I kept telling him, I was like, this is the last night that we're gonna be together for a while. And he was like, no. And I'm like, you don't know how works. It is like, this is it. This is tomorrow.
She makes it sound like I didn't know, but no.
So, you didn't know. This is
I didn't know you were gonna get
like
deported, but but you make it sound like it was all happy and dandy. Well, I wasn't. I was in the I was in the moment. We were registering things, but so long story short, we go to the immigration the next day. It was over there, like toward Sandy area, right? It was like off I-15, those glass blue windows. Every time I see them, it reminds me of it. If you guys know where ICE is, you know what I'm talking about. U.S. Customs. If you know where U.S. Customs is at, I'd burn that place down. No, I'm just playing. I'm just joking. Just
don't
playing.
Say that.
Just playing. It was a joke. No, but we go in, and it was me and Sophie and the stroller. I was pushing the stroller, and Gabby was by herself. We walk in. I don't think the lawyer was there at the time, or was he?
No, he wasn't there. We went to go find him in the morning, and then we went to go turn myself in because the agreement was at 10 o'clock.
Honestly, that lawyer, I don't think he did anything. I think he was trash, personally. But
all of our lawyers have been.
It's been trash.
We haven't found
Long story short, all right, let's continue.
Anyways, so it was 10 o'clock. We showed up. The three of us sat down in like a waiting area. They called me back, and we didn't let them go.
So at that time, he comes up to me. The guy that was in charge of the picking up Gabby the night before walks up to me. He's like, "Hey, I need you to stay calm. You're gonna be here with your daughter. We're gonna take her back. They're gonna have an interview with her, and then we'll come get you." Time passed. I'm talking about time passed. I seen people come in and out. It was crazy. Some people were coming out bawling. Some people were like just walking out, and I was like, "Oh, it's over." As soon as I seen a couple hours go down, I was like, "It's over. It's over for sure." So later on, another dude comes up, and he's like, "Hey, I need you to calm down. I need you to relax. You're gonna go in there. You're gonna talk to your wife, and you got to come back out." So I start walking in, and I seen she was crying.
Okay, so that was while he's waiting for me. He's just seeing people come in and out. So they call me back, and at first they're being really, really aggressive and really rude with me, and they're like trying to like punk me out and like put fear in me and stuff. And they're like, "Listen, we're gonna pull your record. We're gonna take your fingerprints, and we're gonna take us to," because they scan your eyes, and they're like, "We're gonna pull up your whole record, and so we need to know your criminal history." And I'm like, "Okay." Nothing. They're like, "No, you've at least been arrested. You at least have like a speeding ticket. You have something." And I'm like, "Nope, nothing. If you know me, like my story, I've always tried to do good. I've always been involved in school. I had straight A's. Like, I don't have anything. Nothing." And they're like, "No, you have to." And they pulled up my record, and they saw that I didn't have anything. And they started to change their tone of voice. And they're like, "Okay, well, now let's pull up your immigration history. What's there?" And I'm like, "Okay, well, my immigration history is very different." That's a really long story. And once they pulled it up, they started seeing my previous deportations that I had with my parents when I was a minor. And they were like, "Oh, yeah, because of these, what we told your husband last night is no longer valid. We're not going to be able to release you. Actually, you're going to be going to jail. You're going to be going to jail for 6 months." When they told me that, you guys, like, I grew up in a really rough environment. My dad had problems with drugs and alcohol and stuff, and it was just a really tough environment. And so my whole life, I always try to be like, trying to do good, trying to make good decisions, trying to always just do the best I could, right? Always stay away from jail, you know? Like, I never had even like a speeding ticket or anything. Like, I've always tried to do things right, legit, try to help when I could, like just try to be an all-around good person. And then all of a sudden they're telling me that I'm going to jail. And not just that I'm going to jail for 6 months. I was like, I didn't know what to do. I froze up. I put my hands in my face. I looked down and I just started crying. "Sophie, can you come grab the baby?" And so I just started crying.
Like that.
I just started crying, and then as soon as I was crying for just a minute, and that's when my lawyer walked in. And he walked in and he did make a case, and he was trying to argue with them that I had my I-130 was pending, and that we were just waiting for a second interview, that the first lawyer, what they did and how crappy they were and how they basically just scammed me. And we just tried to present our case, and they're like, okay, well, we understand all of that, but because of these previous deportations, there's nothing we can do.
So I'm walking in and I can hear other people
Selfie.
talking. And when they're talking, they're like making fun of her, and it pissed me off. I was pissed. They're like making fun of her, talking trash. And they were kind of like chuckling it up. And I was like, oh, you guys think it's funny? And the guy's like, hey, relax. I was like, man, I told him, yeah, you think it's cool, everybody young. It's like, take that badge off. I was like, take that badge off. I'll get beat up, but I'll sock you up. I'll take a tooth. But, so yeah, long story short, we go in there. Gabby's already in handcuffs, and they're like, you're going to go into this next room. It's like a holding cell or like a thing, say goodbye, and that's it. So I was like, what? Like, it was just kind of like moving fast, and I was in slow motion. Moving. It was crazy.
So the lawyer came, and he was fighting for me, and so praise the Lord, they were able to get the 6 months. He got the 6 months down to 2 weeks. He actually got it down to 1 week, but I got arrested on November 19th, and that following Thursday was Thanksgiving. And there are no deportations on Thanksgiving, so I got to spend Thanksgiving in jail, and I had to wait 2 weeks. I had to wait for the following Thursday. So that's why I got 2 weeks instead of 6 months. And then as soon as they told me that, they're like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and call your family back. You need to say your goodbyes. And that's it. And then that's when they came back.
Yeah, so we got back, and they took one handcuff off her so she can hug us. So she still had a handcuff. And it was quick. It was like no more than 5 minutes tops. We had to figure out we had to get her a bag, or they told me I had to get her a bag ready for her deportation. It was going to be a flight, be there so-and-so day. Ended up changing because of Thanksgiving. So we go in there, we hug her, and he's like, that's enough. He comes in there and handcuffs her like legit, like inches off Sophie's face. And I was like, hey, like, just chill, wait till I get out. And like that, man, they were so disrespectful, man. They were disrespectful so bad, dude.
That's like, not even the worst part of it. So yeah. Okay.
So I'm going out. They're kicking me out, kind of, and they put her in another, like, a holding tank, it
was a jail cell. They put her inside of a jail cell.
Oh, it's a jail cell, and we're walking by. Sophie's just staring at her like, aren't you coming?
There was a small window, probably like this big, and my face is just like, I'm just trying to look at Sophie. Yeah. And Rafa's pushing her in the stroller. She's a year and 5 months old. Sophie just looks back, and she's just staring at me like, Mom, let's go. Like, we're leaving now. And I couldn't go.
That was one of the toughest days for sure. And if you guys stick tuned, you guys will see it was a blessing. But at the moment, it was like heartbreaking. It was crazy. Like, even though I was doing so many bad things, I was doing a lot of bad things. I get to the car. At this point, I'm getting into the car. I put Sophie in the car. She's quiet. Didn't cry, didn't nothing. Quiet, just like in shock. And she's just looking at me. I didn't know what to say. At the moment, I didn't even know who to call, no nothing. So I ended up calling my brother Travis. I called Travis McDonald, and then I called TJ Ariana. I called both. And I'm crying to the point they can't understand me. I'm like bawling, like I'm bawling. And they're like, he's like, what? Like, Travis, like, breathe, man, just breathe. What's going on? Like, what happened? And all I could say is, they took her. I can't even breathe at the time. And so I get done talking to him. I'm trying to leave, trying to compose myself, and I'm looking in the rear view. Sophie's there, and she's still not crying. But she's just looking at me, and we drive off. When we start hitting the highway, that's when she started, like, getting fussy. We get to Magna, and she wouldn't talk. She wouldn't talk at all. And, man, it was kind of crazy. She wouldn't talk at all. And she wouldn't talk to me at all. at all. Like, I couldn't hold her. I couldn't do anything. And that's when I realized that in my mind, I thought she was upset because days went by that she didn't see her mom anymore. And the last time she seen her was with us three together. So it almost felt like she thought that I took her away from her mom. So she would only talk and go to my sister Angie and my mom. The only people. Oh, and Sadie too. She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't nothing. But she wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't she didn't talk. But you know that. You guys know what I meant. She wouldn't. No communication. She didn't want me to touch her. Nothing.
There was no affection, is what there was.
She was like cold. She wouldn't eat. She stopped eating. It was crazy.
She was a year and 5 months old,
Yeah.
and she was depressed. She got depressed from that, you guys.
It's crazy. Babies can get it, man. We've been through it, and it was gnarly.
She would stare off like at the wall, and they would tell me that she wasn't playing anymore. She wasn't.
Nothing.
She stopped eating. She lost
Everything.
weight.
It was
she wasn't
crazy.
sleeping. It's really hard on the kids.
Yeah, that was
really
tough.
hard.
That was tough. We're gonna have to pause it, and then we're gonna come right back. Hold on.